Hi, everyone. My name is Leah Harmon. Um, we are from Randolph County, Alabama. My son is the guy that was found on County Road 59 in Woodland, Alabama on April the 14th, 2024. And this is him. His name is Timothy Truman Harmon Jr., also known as Tim Tim. I've got several videos on Tim Tim's Journey on TikTok and Timothy Harmon, Tim Tim's Journey on Facebook. I also have his page for drug awareness, also mental health. My son had a lot of issues and he self-medicated and his addiction had turned really bad. And so I have several videos on about it. And we were contacted. Timothy was incarcerated in Randolph County from December 26th until April the 5th. So he had been in Randolph County, Alabama, in jail. He came out on the 5th, and he was supposed to have been going to get his girlfriend and go to rehab. So a lot of things took place between the time we lost contact with him on the 9th, and everybody was looking for him. Well, I say everybody, a few people knew where he was at, but I received a phone call in the middle of the night. He was in a yard on County Road 59, and so the investigators turned it over, I guess, with forensics out of Jacksonville, Alabama. So Timothy's death date is unsure. We really don't know. We know the yard he was laying in. He did get a charge of abuse of a corpse. But in the state of Alabama, it is not illegal to see a body and not report it. That's what I was told by the investigator, Harris, out of Randolph County, that the law, the way it is you don't have to report it if you see a body. So when I found out that, I was like, well, that's not right. So we're going to have to try to change that too. So in trying to figure out what really happened to Timothy, because of things, my son was an addict, was they going to chalk it up to an OD? That's about, so far, it's about how it's coming down. But I wanted to change the law. His children wants to change the law. So I started working with Randy Price. He's been really good about working with me on changing this law. They are trying to figure out, he presented it last year, but they had to tweak some of the wording. With the laws, they have to have them just right, I guess. So, there's all kind of work on it. I don't really know a lot about changing the law, so he's there helping to get this law changed. It is not right to ever walk away from anybody. It doesn't matter if they are on drugs. It doesn't matter who they are. If they fall out with a heart attack, it does not matter. If you see a body, you should be reporting it no matter who you are. And so we are fighting for Tim Tim's law. It was SB 218 last year. He said I talked to him Friday. He said they're sitting down and re-looking at how it's written right now that they presented it, and what needs to be tweaked and everything, and trying to figure out how to get this law passed to make it be against the law to walk away from a body and not call somebody. One of the big things is, how do you prove they seen that body? That's going to be one of the big things. In my son's case, everybody that's seen his body eventually, well, let's say some of them, eventually, it's like, yeah, we seen it. They called us over there to see it, but we walked away. We didn't want no part of it, I think one told them, you need to call the law, and I'm out. And, so it took, there was two people, a guy and a girl, that went over there. And I'll go ahead and say their names, Frank and Nikki. And I am so thankful for Frank, for them saying that this is wrong and we're going to call the police. Because if they had not have called the police, I don't know how long my son would have been there or what else they would have done with my child's body. Because the what I'm understanding, the coroner's telling me he had been there for a good while. He had already gone through the decaying process, and them letting him lay there cost me being able to view my son. His body was in such bad shape, we couldn't view him. I identified my child by tattoos. They had done the fingerprints for him, and whatever they had to do to get his, to know that it was him. And so also I wanted to see him and make sure, but I didn't get to do that. And that is all because they left him so many days out there. And, the first investigator had certain beliefs, and we didn't argue or anything like that. I'm not saying that. It's just we were disagreeing on several different things, because one thing with my son's addiction, he was very honest with me. I've been told a lot of stuff. It's my fault. I should have got him help. I did. If you go back and watch my videos, I have tried to get Timothy help. I have stood with the court system. My son went to rehab, the drug rehab program, and the state of Alabama prison system, Ventress. My son come out of prison on more drugs than he went in on. And people say, oh, that's not possible. It is possible. It is possible. A lot of people are like, well, they deserve to be in jail. They deserve to be in prison. It's bad. It's bad. And if you're not in that position, you can say that. Everybody needs to do that. But when they send your loved one there and they're at it, odds are they're coming out worse than they was when they went in. Because I know what was there. Took my son a while to tell me exactly what was there, but he did eventually tell me what was going down, and it's bad. There's so many drugs in and out of the prison system. They're coming out worse than they went in. So, something needs to be done about that also. I've seen him get drugs in jail. I've seen him get them at Randolph County Jail. I have. He has told me that it's harder to get them since the new jail was built, that things are harder. But to get them there, that's not a thing no more. Since the new jails have come into play, it's not easy to get them. And so then he's been in several rehabs. He's been in the court referral system. He got drugs there at the court referral out in the parking lot. My ex-husband, he is in that world. I'm not. He was in that world. He got him out in the parking lot too. So, there's a lot of things that is in play with that, and they've got to have that want to leave the drugs alone. But if you're trying to put them in prison just to get them cleaned up, and that's what I was told, Miss Hartman, we're going to send your son on to prison, and we're going to get him in a drug rehab program through prison and let him have a taste of prison, let him get the rehab. He'll be better when, he'll be doing real good when he gets out. He wasn't. He didn't even know his name when he touched down. When he come up out of that prison, he wasn't. And there's a lot of people that are going to prison that have mental health issues also, that is having, being sent to prison, and their drugs are right there. Their choice is there because all of it's there. And, they can sugarcoat it as much as they want, but my son spent a good bit of time, and, I'm not proud of it. I never, ever agreed with the stuff that he done. Every conversation with my son was, are you ready for rehab? Are you ready to stop this? Get serious and you choose rehab, because they can choose rehab for you all day long. And that's a hard thing for you to swallow. If you like begging your child to go and they're like, okay, I'll go. I pray it works, because he went for me so much that please go, get clean, and it would get them clean for just a little while. It's according to how long they stay, and me and watching the drugs, I say to myself, when is it going to stop? When is it going to stop? Because I have got so many family members, some I'm not even around half the time, and they're doing drugs. They've been in trouble for drugs, and it's just like families are being destroyed, and I know people don't like addicts. I know people have issues. You can get off the page, scroll your ass on by my page, because this page is about drug addiction, mental health awareness, drug awareness, and it's about justice for my son. And as far as Timothy's case, there's still a case open on Timothy. I have done some more, a few designs. One of them is a billboard. If anybody knows anything, to contact Randolph County Investigator's Office. And another one is the Karma Train. And, I'm proud of my Karma Train, because karma's coming. We may not get justice through the justice system, but karma's something else. And I truly believe in karma. It's coming. And my investigator the investigator that worked on Timothy's case, his name was Mr. Harris. He is no longer at Randolph County. He is at, I want to say they said Clay County, but then I wasn't informed, so nobody answered the phone, and stuff for a while. And, I was already not getting him to answer the phone before he left. And then I wasn't getting him to answer the phone when I kept calling, And so then finally I called and talked with the DA's office, and I said, is he gone? I want to know who's over my son's case. So the DA's office is like, yes, he's not here no longer. He is over in Clay County. So I'm like, I called the investigator's office, talked with another guy that knows some of what my son's story is, okay? But as what I have been telling on Facebook and TikTok, I posted a video of the investigator stating that he was going to, do several things. He was going to have my son's DNA tested, just several things that he was going to do. That I don't even know if that even got done. As far as I know, it didn't. My son's swabs and nails was supposed to have been ready. So I talked with a new investigator that's, I guess, maybe his investigator going to be on his case. And he told me he was in grand jury at the end of the month in March, in January, for me to get back in touch with him. And, well, during this time, these last few days, I've left messages, but I know he's been, tied up in court and things like that. So I've got a message left for him to call me, but you'll see the Karma Train on my page. And, the Karma Train was created for a few reasons. One is threats, that I need to stop. I'm going to get myself killed. I'm going to, harm's going to come, all this stuff. I don't care. I am not scared. Our family is not scared. If they need an address, I'll give them an address. Give me an address. I'll roll up. I don't care. I know that something went down my son. And I know it wasn't one. Okay? And I have had 9 people contact me. 9. They either contact me themselves, and if they contacted me themselves, they ended up on video and on audio, right? Because trying to keep everybody's stories straight and this, that, and other, because this is a lot I have worked on for 2 years. I have went out here and trying to find out what really happened, because I know there's more that happened. Nothing sounds like how, if I would have got a phone call, hey, he fell out, there were several people there, and he just fell out, and they called 911. If I would have got that phone call, I wouldn't have been out and as uneasy, I don't think, as I am now, because my son was 200 pounds. He was found with no shirt and no shoes. One, he always would throw his shirt over his shoulder, or he would put it in his back pocket. He didn't have that. He always had certain things on him. Since he got his addiction got severe, he would tote Narcan. He didn't have any Narcan on him. There was no Narcan around him anywhere. And also, him not wearing shoes. That's something that he never did. He didn't go without his shoes. He may walk just a little bitty piece with those shoes, but no. And, the stories that they've told the investigators, none of it makes sense. That's just not Timothy. That's not how he would have done it, things. And even his best friends, the one that are true friends now, these are so-called friends that walked off and left him. He thought they were his friends. And he protected them to the day he went out. He was like, it's my monkey on my back, never blame nobody, never blame my friends. He thought his friends were true friends, true ride or die friends. They're not. And that's another reason for his page, is if you are in addiction, or if you are a young person, or you have young children, let them hear his story, because these people are not your ride or die friends. A ride or die friend is very few and far between, and I used to tell him that all the time. And he defended his group of friends till the very end, and they left him laying and let him rot. And so we've had a lot of things out there. So the train come when the karma train it'll be there. It'll be on several of his posts. You'll see me making different things, and it has his picture on the front of the train, and that's just where it's going to be. But I will say this. I haven't got to talk back with the investigator, but during this time, the other day, Cleburne County arrested a couple people. Well, I put on there, karma train is coming. Well, the reason that karma train is coming is because one of those people, his name is Johnny McNutt. I will give his name, Johnny McNutt. That was the guy that my son, that was in the car. They were in Eric Shepard's car, another friend. And that was the guy supposed to be, him by himself and my son. And it was supposed to be, and my son took off running and all this, right? Okay, we all know that story is not right. I don't believe it. Nobody believes it. But he goes back. He lives across the line in Georgia. He lives in over close to Bucktown down there. Okay, so I have 9 people send word. If they didn't send word to me, they call me, hey, they text me, hey, is this Tim's mama? I need to talk to you. So, and if you did do that, like I said, I got you on audio. So, therefore, I have them, on audio telling me he's running around bragging. He did this to my son. They gave him a hot shot, and he wasn't dying fast enough. It just wasn't going, like what he'd planned. So he the rest of the way. Okay, so, you think, okay, well, that proof is there. But one coroner I talked to was, if this hot shot was strong enough, it would have already about got him, right? Because it was the, sometimes they say I'm going to end up getting getting kicked off because of the words I use. It had fat in it, and it had meth in it, right? So that was in his system. He's a drug addict, though. If you've seen him most of the time, he had drugs in his system. And but this dude is telling us, he wasn't caught with, telling all them, he wasn't caught with nothing on him. And that's because, we took it. And so he's doing his bragging that he did this and this and this to my child. So all these other people are notifying me, right, that, hey, this happened. Now, I haven't really released a lot of people that has notified me. Well, I'll release one today, okay? Roger Galston. He went to jail with Johnny McNutt in Cleburne County. Well, Roger Galston is one of the ones that was telling that he heard him say that. But this is where it comes in at. When all the friends supposed to be his friends, contact or send word to me. One, they don't want to talk to police. They don't want in on it. They don't want to talk to police. Well, we get word sent to us, but Roger Galston's one of the ones. And Roger Galston is still hanging where the drug's at. Because he, from the looks of it, is trying to still get his high, And, shouldn't never told it. If you didn't want it told, you shouldn't have never told it. Because a lot of people aren't understanding that you're running your mouth and then they're getting on the phone and calling Tintin's mama. Now, Roger did not call me himself. Let me say that. It went through other people that he heard him say that and that he was bragging. So now both of them are in Cleburne County and have holds for Roanoke. In Cleburne County and have holds for Randolph County. Okay? So the karma train's running. Regardless whether they get something on them about my son's case or something else, the karma train's coming. And it will hit every one of them. I know it will, eventually. I know. And so, I've had people say I need to get off social media, that I'm rattling too many cages. I don't care. I don't care how many cages I rattle. I'm not going to stop. The only way I will stop is the DNA under my son's fingernails and the DNA swabs does not have anybody else's DNA on it. That will be the day I stop. Because I have been told there's several of you out there, and I'm sure they watch my videos. I'm sure they do. But there's several of them that had hands in this. And I trust none of them. I trust none of them because I don't believe it. His girlfriend, I have a hard time with her story. She was supposed to have the dates, and this is the thing. I wasn't there. And the thing of it was, she was there. She was at that trailer. And my son was on the ground. There's no way around her not being at. She put herself at the trailer. My son was laying out back. And what I'm understanding is they picked him up and they moved him. Several of them moved him. And he was found outside. And so, I don't know. But this mama's not going to stop. I'm never going to stop. I'm going to fight for this law. And, I hope and pray that the senator can get everybody to understand it needs to be a law. They're throwing their kids out. They're throwing our family members out on the side of the road. So they seen a body. And they get in trouble for, the body. So, but if you walk up on it and you say, oh, no, I'm out, you don't get in trouble because state of Alabama don't have a reporting law. So this mama is not going to stop. You can threaten me all you want to. I don't care. And where I'm coming from I don't know what you think that I'm supposed to be scared of. Half of me died with my son. The other half is trying to figure out how to exist for my other children and my grandchildren. Because this is, somebody said this is a club, a mother's club and a father's club that you don't want to be in. You're right, it is. It really is. I don't mind wearing an orange jumpsuit. Ain't never been to jail day in my life, but I don't mind. I don't mind. It don't make me no mind. And rattling too many cages, I don't care whose cage I rattle. I do not care. There's a lot of shit I know that goes on in Randolph County, and I don't care. I can sit and talk about it too, you know. I want what I was promised by the first investigator. My son's DNA tested, and I will not stop until it's tested. And I asked the new investigator, do you need me to pay for my son's DNA to be tested? And you know, he said, let me look at the case and we're gonna figure out what's going on. You know, let me just look at what's going on. And that's where I know a lot of problems is, because the 9 people that has put this out here, no one wants to talk about it, right? But when the DNA got tested on Tim, right, and there's DNA supposedly there, right, it was going to be run. And if it got run, hopefully that karma train is going to run real good when he gets to Randolph County. I hope and pray that's what it is. Because there's a lot of stuff that they will keep from me. And I hope and pray. I hope and pray that's there. And if not, this mama still ain't stopping. You know, if my son did what he did on his own and he OD'd and that was that, he wouldn't have been where he was at. You know, they have him laying out on the ground. It just, none of it makes sense. And I'm not going to stop. I am not going to stop. They charged one with abuse, of course. The rest of them that come over and see my kid, they let him walk. There is none of this is right. And there was more than one there. I know people seen what happened. And I know they moved him. I don't care. I know it. And this mama is not going to stop, because my mama heart, my mama gut is telling me there's more to this story. And this mama is not going to stop. And so the billboard will be up. It's a design right now. But don't get me wrong. I'll get a billboard. I'll put it all on a billboard. I don't care. You know. You know, when the facts come out, you know, it doesn't matter to me. I'll put it on a billboard. Drug awareness in Randolph County needs to be on a billboard anyway. And, you know, I just hope more people see his story. I wake up every night. The doctor told me the other day, she said, you know that's like PTSD. You're reliving this over and over and over and over again. And for a mother and a father that has lost their children, and I have met several on TikTok and Facebook that have lost their children to this. And, you know, there's a lot of smart asses out there. Well, could they just not do the drug and not put it in their system? You know, and that's the deal is with my son. He said he should have never started. It's nobody's fault but his own. He took his own responsibility for it. But that would be if he, somebody is saying they gave him a hot shot. So, you know, you get into different thing there. But my son would always tell me, never blame yourself, never blame my friends. This is my monkey on my back. I'm the addict. He would always say that, you know. But when you get to where you leave a person laying and you know they there and you allowing that person to lay there and rot and how people have animals and stuff eat off him. My son's body was in such bad shape. No viewing, no seeing him, no No being able to put your hand on his heart and know that he wasn't breathing. They took that all away from us. They took it away when they sat there and watched him. And yes, I say sat there and watched him because they called people, hey, come look at this. There's a body in my yard. Look at this. Hey, he's got a body over here. Come look over here. And so there's a bunch of people that come and see my child. And so as this mama, I'm mad, I'm pissed. You know, laws should not be like this. And this mama's not going to stop. And I don't give a damn who likes it that I'm out here telling this. I even got told that Tim Tim wouldn't like this, all this publicity. Well, guess what? Tim Tim knows his mama. And he knows I'm not going to shut up. Hell, my ex-husband said I'm a mouthy woman that couldn't be controlled. And he got that shit right because I'm not going to be controlled. I'm going to say what I got to say. And this is not right. Something else has happened. And I'm not going to stop. I'm going to get justice for my son. Because either which way, they need to make sure that nothing else happened because he's more than an addict. Okay? It was told in court. You know Timothy Truman Harmon Jr., known as Tim Tim, was just an addict. That's not true. Addicts are somebody's family member. Somebody loves these addicts, you know. They're a daddy, they're a father, they're a brother, they're an uncle, or a sister, or a mother, you know, aunts, uncles. Just because they're an addict does not make them not be one. You know, it doesn't. And he was a good father when he was straight. He really was. Now, did he do everything he should have done? No, he didn't. He did not. And I say he did not. I told him he did not. When he was right, he was right. When he was wrong, he was wrong. And I would not take up for him. You know, the deal with him doing wrong and having to go to jail, take your ass up there and serve your time. You shouldn't have done it. And that's exactly how I feel about it. And I would never, when he was in the wrong, if everybody watches my stories, our family nightmare here, I would never say, oh, he was right. My kid didn't do that. No. And the worst thing you can ever say in your life is, oh, my kid wouldn't get on that. No, my family member wouldn't be on that. No, you would be shocked at how many people has addictions. You would be shocked. You would be shocked about your co-workers. You would be, and I say this in Randolph County, you would literally be shocked about the certain co-workers that is on drugs. You would be shocked at the higher-ups that's on it. You would be shocked. Your doctors. Some doctors. Now, I'm not saying in Randolph County, I'm saying some doctors. Lawyers. I know a few of them. You would be shocked. Don't think this is just, oh, well, they're trash, they're this, they're that. That's not how this drug world works. It don't discriminate. And when it takes your family out, it don't discriminate then either. But if you have somebody fixing it where it's going to take you out, that's murder. Period. Point blank. So, in a few videos, I put his girlfriend, Samantha Allen, I put her audio out where when I talked to her. And then, you know, with her, she supposedly didn't know nothing about it, this, that, and other. She wound up going and leaving and going to to a rehab. They sent her to a mental institution. She ended up back over at the rehab. So it just makes me, you know, our family's just wondering, okay, what all does she really know? Did she see something? Did she know he was passed away? And there's nobody hardly you can trust that's going to, you know, tell you the truth. And I have made Timothy's memorial bottles, and I've been putting those out. I am going to have a big memorial for Tim Tim when I get things settled, because I know there were several people there. I know several people seen my son. And I also, I really know several names of who seen my son. But if you seen my kid and you left my kid laying, I think that you are just as guilty as the man that got charged with abuse of a corpse. You're just as guilty for leaving him laying, because you left him laying, and the karma train is going to bite you in your ass. And believe you me, that's a big ass karma train coming. And this mama ain't going to stop. They'll have to kill me before I stop. And I'm not scared to die. I don't care. The good Lord knows that. Am I perfect? No, I'm not perfect. I'm just trying to make it every day for my other kids, for my other children. But as far as shutting me up, I just ain't never been one to shut up when somebody tries to tell me shut up. It just don't work for me. And if the investigators, now that we have a new investigator, will handle his job, okay, and let's see what really took place that day. Break this down to me. Let this mama know, like I told him, let's get it done or close it. Close the case, because I need my information that I want his DNA tested one way or another. I want the swabs tested. I want to pay. If I have to pay for it, I will do it. And so that's where we stand with that. But they supposed to have tracked my child, right? Tracked him down. Supposedly nobody had a cell phone. I found out everybody had cell phones, supposed to be getting everybody's cell phone ready. All this stuff, that I don't know who would believe that they didn't have a cell phone. I ain't never seen not have a cell phone, whether you had to hotspot off somebody or you might go a little while without one, but you're going to hotspot off somebody with your phone, or your tablet or whatever. I heard that shit. I've got told so much shit. And one thing I got told by the investigator that used to have it, one day they will come in here and they'll sit down and they'll tell me exactly what really happened with Tim. They'll be in that much trouble that they'll need to tell about it. Swallow that one. I said, 20 years from now, I'll be gone. I'll be passed away. I'd like to know before I pass away. So that is where my son's case is right now. The karma train is running. There is 2 people in Cleveland County jail. It's not to do with my son's death right now, okay? But it doesn't matter what they're there for. The karma train's running. It's coming. And if you will, please follow me and on TikTok, and follow Timothy Harmon, Tim's Journey on Facebook. And I think that's all. I was just trying to update y'all a little bit because I've been kind of out of it. Thanksgiving hit me hard, Christmas hit me hard, and his birthday. And I've just really had a hard time getting it together and holding it together. It's just hard. It's so hard, And people say some of the damnedest things. I mean, I'm going to have to do a video on that by itself. A lot of people say so much stuff. If you don't know what to say to a grieving mother or father, don't say nothing. Just say, I'm here. Would you like to talk? That's what you can say. Some of the stuff that I have heard is crazy. It's crazy. And, I don't think, even the investigator need to grieve your child and get over it. Not this one, the old one, and, she's listening to everybody else and not grieving her child. Grief don't go away. What the hell? I'm not understanding, if it was their kid, and that's what I've told on one of my videos, if it was their child laying on a slab, on a metal slab, after he'd done been laying in a yard for days and days and days and days, and everything eaten up of it. Then he gets put on this metal slab, and he's laying there. If it was your child, I bet you would have a whole different outlook. A different outlook. I just bet you would. because it's hard. It is. I thought I'd been through hell. And honey, I have been through my daddy being through a drug addiction with my family members, domestic violence with family member, divorce, married to an addict for years and years and years. And, this pain, it is, you can't even describe it. It is so bad. So you wake up and sometimes you just wake up and you can't breathe. There's so much on you. You relive it every day, every single day. Every night I get that phone call. Every single night. Talk to the same girl, says the same thing. And we go all the way through everything until, I get to Alabama. I get to Randolph County that day. And they tell me they can't tell me that's my son for sure, but tattoos match. My son lost his name for days. And that's another thing. That is unforgivable. Unforgivable that my kid I named 34 years before that lost his own name. That is just unreal. And he wasn't referred to, and all of them knew him. He couldn't be referred to as Tim or Timothy. It's just, it's unbelievable. The nightmare that our family went through and our nightmares living in because somebody has chosen not to call 911. And a family, kids, his children, he's ashes. He's been cremated. How do we know that's our daddy in there? We didn't get to see him. How do we know he's really gone? We didn't get to see him. We don't know it was him. It's hard. It's hard to explain to these kids that, it's him. They verified. They had a tag on him. They took his fingerprints. They did this. They did this. We looked at a tattoo. And, and then, of course, they're at the age. He's got one that's 18-year-old, It's just, it's unreal. And when I started his page, I told him, your daddy's life will be out there in the open. And I want y'all to understand that. That means all the good, all the bad. Did he do everything good in his life? No, he didn't, honey. He did not. There's people out there that he had issues with. Just all kind of stuff has happened through his lifetime, But I can grant you one thing. Those so-called friends, if they called him, hey, I need you, or so-and-so just rolled up, it's looking bad over here. Honey, he'd been there. He'd been there. But they didn't for him. And I always said my son wouldn't leave nobody laying. Come to find out, my son had saved about 20 people. Now, a few people saved his life also. They did have to save his life, Narcan him, do CPR. Yes. So during this journey, I have spoke with people. People has told me their stories. And I love for them to tell me their stories. I hate that they were put in that spot, that they ended up almost losing their life. But that my son would never, ever, ever do another human being that way. He would save them. And I knew that in my heart. And I appreciate them telling me their stories and sending that to me. Because, I knew he wouldn't. I knew he wouldn't. But as for this mama, we are going to keep fighting. Justice for Tim, forever 34. I love you, son, forever and a day. And the karma train is running. It's running. Thank y'all for watching.